All right, let's just jump right in. We're going to try and decode the future of work, specifically looking ahead to 2026. And, this isn't just another fluffy forecast. We're actually mapping out what comes next, and it's all based on some pretty incredible insights from leaders on the front line.
So let's get right to it. The big question that's probably on your mind and definitely on every leader's mind is, with all the noise, all the different trends, what really comes next for the workplace? How do you even begin to separate the fads from the shifts that are actually going to stick?
And here's why this map we're looking at is so different. The answers we're going to explore, well, they don't come from some fancy algorithm or a bunch of abstract trend reports. Nope, they come from the real lived experiences of over 90 leaders. We're talking about the people who are actually shaping culture and communication inside some of the most respected companies out there. So yeah, these are insights from the ground up.
Okay, so to make sense of all this, we're going to use a framework called the Insight Stack. It's pretty straightforward. Just think of it as our map for the next few years. It's built in 3 layers. We'll start at the very bottom with 6 big, foundational core shifts. Then we'll move up to 2 fast-moving, emerging signals. And at the very top, we'll get to this single cultural undercurrent that honestly ties this whole thing together.
So, let's start with that foundation, right? The 6 core workplace shifts. And I want to be super clear here. These are not wild predictions. These are the big, undeniable changes that are already happening, and they are absolutely going to define how we all work.
First up, and I'm sure this is no surprise to anyone, is AI. But the shift we're talking about here is, well, it's a lot deeper than you might think. We're moving way beyond seeing AI as just some helpful little tool. By 2026, it's really set to become the actual backbone of the entire employee experience.
So here's the crucial idea. It's this move from assistance to orchestration. That's the key. We're talking about AI that doesn't just help you with a task. It actively manages entire workflows. Imagine it translating content instantly, or predicting how employees are feeling before you even send out a survey. It's all about seamlessly removing all that little friction from our daily work lives. All right, let's move on to the second core shift. And this one basically signals the end of an era for corporate communications as we know it. You know those one-size-fits-all broadcast-style emails? Yeah, their days are numbered. We are moving deep into an age of hyper-personalization.
And this really gets to the heart of the new rule. One size no longer fits anyone. Seriously. Communication is going to become so deeply tailored to a person's specific role, their behavior, even their needs. By 2026, the goal isn't just about how many people you can reach. It's about relevance. It's about sending fewer messages, but making sure every single one is way more meaningful.
Okay, next up, let's talk about who's actually telling the story. What's so fascinating about this third shift is who's holding the microphone. The power is literally shifting away from the corporation and into the hands of the collective. Your employees? They're about to become the most influential storytellers your organization has.
And what that means is the employer brand isn't something that's built for people anymore. It's built with them. It's not just about the official company line, not at all. It's about the stories, the content, and the actual experiences that your own people are choosing to share with the world.
Okay, moving on to our fourth shift. And this one builds right on top of that idea of employee experience. For way too long, there's been this huge gap, right, between the amazing tech we use in our personal lives and the clunky stuff we're given at work. Well, that's over. The old way, static, stuck on a desktop, is out. The new expectation is simple. Work tech has to feel like life tech. It needs to be intuitive, mobile first, and just visually engaging.
The fifth major shift. This one is demographic, sure, but it's sending these huge cultural shockwaves through everything. Gen Z is coming into the workforce, and they're not just another group to manage, no way. They are a force that is fundamentally redefining workplace norms for literally everyone. Just think about what that means in practice. All those hallmarks of Gen Z communication. That demand for radical transparency, for immediate responses, for raw authenticity instead of corporate polish. Well, those aren't just things you do for Gen Z anymore. They are quickly, and I mean quickly, becoming the new default for how we all interact at work.
And that brings us to the final piece of our foundation, data. For so long, trying to measure the impact of things like internal comms and employee experience was seen as, a nice to have. That is changing fast. Measurement is becoming absolutely 100% non-negotiable.
Because the new reality is, if you can't measure it, you can't champion it. It's that simple. Leaders now expect real-time analytics. They want to see sentiment dashboards, behavioral data, adoption curves. Your teams are going to have to draw a straight, clear line from the work they do to hard business metrics like retention and productivity.
Okay, so that's our foundation. We've got those 6 core shifts locked in. Now let's move up the stack to that next layer, the 2 emerging signals. Now these are trends that aren't totally dominant yet, but man, are they accelerating and picking up speed fast. Okay, first up, we're seeing this big move toward hyperlocal and multilingual communication. It makes sense, right? In a diverse, global workforce, those generic messages from HQ just aren't cutting it. The future is realizing that local nuance isn't just a tiny detail, it's a massive strategic advantage for inclusion. Then, the second signal is the rise of human-centric design. This is all about obsessively, and I mean obsessively, simplifying the employee journey. Getting rid of friction wherever you find it, and just making the whole experience feel totally effortless. It's becoming the new operating system for how we think about work.
And that brings us to the very top, the final and honestly the most important layer of our map, the one cultural undercurrent. This is the deep human truth that's sitting right underneath all the tech, all the data, and all the strategy we've been talking about.
So just take a second and think about it. As AI starts to automate more and more of our tasks, and as hybrid work can sometimes make us feel a little disconnected, what's the one thing left? What truly becomes the new strategic differentiator for a company?
And here it is. The answer is, belonging will become the new engagement. As our work gets more efficient and more automated, that feeling of genuine human connection, of trust, of having a sense of meaning, that becomes the ultimate competitive advantage. This is the real retention strategy for 2026 and beyond.
So, okay, after stacking all of these insights, we've got the core shifts, the emerging signals, and that really deep cultural undercurrent. What's the big takeaway? What does this all actually mean for you, right now?
You know, the most powerful conclusion from all of these frontline leaders was this. What emerges from all this is not a simple checklist of things to do. It's a direction. It's a call to start thinking beyond isolated programs and to focus instead on the alignment between the promise your brand makes and the actual day-to-day lived experience of your people. That right there, that's the work that's going to define the winners of 2026.